Hey guys, welcome back. Well, today I'm going to be taking a look at a really cool little brushless truck by Remo Hobby. This is the 1635 brushless edition of the SMAX Truck, a little 1/16 scale brushless truck. They also make a brushed version. They list and show both versions on the box here. But as you can see, here's some of the trucks. They package all these different 1/16 scales in this particular box, so you have to find which side applies to your truck. But as you can see here is the brushless version right here, the brushless motor, all this information. They don't give the KV on the motor information anyway, which is kind of odd. And you can see all the upgradable aluminum alloy parts you can buy for this truck, including oil-filled shocks, because this truck just comes with friction shocks. All right, well, that shows enough of the box. Let's move along and show you what comes in the box. So be right back. Okay guys, this is everything that comes in the box. Of course, you got the truck, the controller, the charger. We'll go over all that here. So everything that comes with it, or I should say everything that comes inside of it. Here's the controller. I'm gonna go over this first. Nice large controller, and one thing I really like about this is it has the steering, the wheel can be popped out on the other side just by pressing this tab in the top and pushing it through, and now you've got it's set for left-handed drivers. So that's actually pretty cool. You don't see that too often on the ready to run controllers. You also have on the back here, you got your steering and throttle trims and your dual rates for both, and your servo reversing and a bind button if you need to rebind it. So it's not like the best feeling quality controller, but it ought to get the job done just fine for a ready to run truck. This right here is to let you change like the travel distance on the forward and reverse and brake, but it says it obviously doesn't affect the top speed or anything, so it just has to do with the travel distance. I've never seen that before, kind of odd. Here is the battery that comes with it, if I can reach it here. This is a 1500 milliamp 2S lithium ion pack. So they didn't go with LiPo, but it ought to move pretty good. But I do plan on doing a follow-up video with a speed test where I will take a 2S LiPo and we'll see if it gets any more speed on a LiPo. It should get a little more speed than a lithium ion, but this is fine. It's still a lot better than a nickel cadmium pack. And here is a charger for that. This is one of those B3 chargers. Let me move it back so it's in view. This one does need for the US here, I need the adapter, which I have for these. It didn't come with one, but 2 and 3 cell charges off the balance port, of course. So it's gonna be rather slow, but from my experience, these chargers actually work quite well. At least at getting the cells balanced. It's just gonna be a lot slower than using a hobby grade charger. And here is the big instruction manual in here, and it's got also an exploded view, showing how to assemble it if you need to make repairs, take it apart, reassemble it. And you've got a 4-way like wheel wrench. You got some Allen wrenches in here and some spare body clips, because man, those things are easy to lose. They either fly off or you set them down when you're working on it, and then later you can't remember where you put one of them. So it's nice they included some extra body clips. And of course, here is a truck, really sharp looking truck. I've already got the body already undone here, so let me set it back down and reattach it. Wanted to show you guys that ahead of time before I actually show you what's underneath, so it's a lot easier in the video just to have the body clips removed. But really sharp blue truck, and really nice rubber tires. Let's go ahead and take that body off so I can show you what's underneath here. There's the brushless motor. Again, I don't know the KV. I've looked on their website, Banggood, the instructions, the box, nothing lists the KV. Just that it's a 2440 size motor. Over here you've got the ESC and receiver combo and your on and off switch. Of course, it uses a Dean's plug, which is nice. It has this alloy support beam between the front to back, which is nice for just overall stability of the vehicle. Here's your steering servo here on the side. Get it back so it's in view. Yeah, nice rubber tires. It is 4-wheel drive with obviously differentials. See there, it's 4-wheel drive. yeah, nicely built. It's got full ball bearings. If you can see, metal dog bones in there. Again, these are just friction shocks, so one of the first upgrades I would suggest is to go oil filled on these, and they do sell ones for it, or you can find many aftermarket shocks that are oil filled that will fit this truck. It seems to be some nice composite plastic. Your battery installs right in here. It has a Velcro strap to keep all the wires and batteries secure, which is nice. So that goes there. Yeah, a nice little truck. So let's just see how fast it goes and how it performs on jumps and that stuff. It's gonna be, the way I figure it's gonna be pretty quick. It's gonna be nice and fun to run, but it's gonna be a bit bouncy like my Zenlong Q903. These friction spring shocks without oil are always bouncy. So it may not be super good on jumps and stuff just because it doesn't have oil filled. So, you know, you spend 20 bucks or something on oil filled shocks, maybe less than that if you find, you know, some cheaper ones or ones on sale, and boy, you really got yourself a nice little truck. That this runs under $100. I don't think it was around 90. I'm not exactly sure, but for a ready to run brushless truck, I mean, that's great. And Remo Hobby is a pretty good brand. So all right, guys, well that should wrap up the table review for the little SMAX 1/16 scale. Let's move along outside now for the drive review. Okay guys, so I'm going to take the Remo Hobby SMAX little 1/16 scale brushless truck out now for its drive review. I'm just going to do a drive review today in front of my house. I'd like to take it to someplace better, but it's just, oh my god, is it hot for this time of the year. So I'm just going to be lazy today and take it for a drive review in front of the house. I do, like I said, plan on doing a follow-up video with this, where I'll put my cell phone mounted on here somewhere, just temporarily of course, for a speed test, and I'll throw a 2S LiPo in to see if this thing gets any better speed. Should get be a little faster on a LiPo, and I don't know, maybe I'll take it somewhere else to do that review. Anyway, it's all bound up, it's ready to go, so let's put it down on the ground and see how it does. This is my first drive. I actually did not do any, I usually like to test everything else out, but just because of this heat, I just haven't felt like going outside much. So this is my maiden drive on this little truck. I like how it steers. It's really, wow. In fact, it almost oversteers. That's pretty quick. Need to do some steering trim. It's almost a little bit, maybe a little bit touchy on the steering. I don't have to give it much steering input. And it immediately turns. So you have to get used to the steering. It's a little touchy. But it steers well. Really turns around. Oh, that's fast. Expect it to be fast on a brushless motor. Not super fast, but again, this is just a 2S lithium ion. So it looks like it's pulling to the right, so I'm gonna bring it around here and do some, give a little steering trim. Whoa! I gave it throttle right when it hit the curb there, and it's riding on its back wheels there. That was pretty cool, actually. Once I get it trimmed up here, we'll drive it around. We'll do a little more on the grass and stuff. See how that does. Yeah, it's a little bit touchy on the steering. I'll give it that. Some of that's just going to be, I'm going to need to get used to this controller. Not bad. I'd say somewhere in the 20, I'm guessing here. Some of the 20 to 25 mile per hour range is what I'm be probably guessing, and we'll find out. Here we got a car coming. Oh yeah, it goes through the grass with no problem for a little truck. Sometimes these smaller trucks, they can get bogged down when they're brushed. But the brushless power, wow, and my grass, as you can see, is tall because it needs to be mowed. And I don't feel like mowing in this heat. Thankfully, in a couple of days, this heat's gonna break and it'll be done for the year. Yeah, it really spins out, but it's fun. Whoa! That was cool. Yeah, this is a nice little truck. As I'm driving it here, you know, I'm getting more and more used to the steering, so I'm not spinning out as much. You have to get very small steering inputs here. We could do the steering dual rates a little bit and see if we can just lower down the radius, but I like to have my full steering radius. It's always best to make sure that your dual rates though is not set beyond the steering range. That means it's simply giving the servo inputs to steer beyond what it can, which is putting strain on the servo and can strip out gears over time. So I checked it inside and it seemed like it was stopping right about where giving servo input right about where the steering actually was stopping on the servo. So yeah, once you get used to it, you just don't need to use very much steering input, very little when you turn. Once you get used to that, it's not a big deal. But if you're new to this and this is your first truck, it may really throw you off because you're going to want to do a lot of this, you know. And some trucks and cars do require a lot more input on it. You know, it just depends on the controller and also the dual rates, you know, the limiting on the steering. If you've got it set to where, you know, that's going to affect how easily it turns around. But the sensitivity on the controller is just simply how much you're giving it for it to give the steering command or the servo turn command, and just very little will give it the command to turn. And it just keeps on turning. So you just give it a very little nudge and let off, and then you can direct it. Not a big deal. I mean, I've been driving these cars for so long that once you get used to the controller, it's not a problem. Of course, years ago, you might have one controller or two, you know, and you were used to that controller. When you're switching around these ready to run, you're getting a huge variance. Some of these controllers are really good and some are not. This one's just so-so. It's not bad, but it's really touchy. And it's, you know, it's kind of bulky, but for a ready to run, you can't expect too much. You could upgrade this stuff probably if you wanted to go with a full ESC and then a separate receiver. That certainly will work. Of course, this is a combo, so you're going to have to replace the ESC and the receiver, but it's certainly doable to get yourself a much better, even a Fly Sky transmitter or something like that, and have an upgrade to this pistol grip if you don't like it. But yeah, this has good power. And we flipped it a few times here, but it's not been anything where I'm constantly flipping or tumbling, because sometimes these smaller vehicles, especially if they're extra bouncy, it's very easy to flip them. And this one's not been bad at all. The suspension's doing a little better than I thought, being friction shocks. Now we do a little jump here at about half speed. Obviously full speed it's not going to be able to handle this. Even with good shocks on it, it's going to be awfully small on this jump, and it's just going to tumble and it's going to flip or land on its side, or depends on what kind of ramp you have set up for it. Oh, see that? I gunned it and gave it full throttle right before I hit the lip of the curve there. But it seems well built. Not having any issues with anything. Of course, I'm not doing very much here. I'm not pushing it. But as you can see, when I come off there, watch that again. You can see it there, but it is a bit bouncy, and that's just those spring shocks. Watch it here. See how it bubble? You know, it's bouncing because it's not absorbing the impact like dampened shocks of oil will. But I gotta say, for this size, you know, the shocks are doing a better job than say the Zinglehong Q903. those shocks, as you drive the truck, you can see it bouncing down the road. And I'd say that truck needs oil-filled shocks more so than this one. But to keep the cost down, I'm sure that's why Remo Hobby decided to not include oil-filled and make that an upgrade option. Just like the alloy parts, which if you want to go with those, be curious if those weigh more than the plastic. You may actually make the truck weigh more going with those parts, but those parts won't break. Oh, and back on its wheels. But oil-filled shocks are such a cheap option anymore. They're not like an expensive thing like they used to be years ago. So, you know, I think 20 bucks you can upgrade. Pretty common for around 20 bucks you can upgrade to oil-filled shocks. And you're gonna have it's gonna be more stable. It's not gonna be as bouncy. It's gonna handle jumps better. But at this size, you're still gonna tumble and bounce around on rather big jumps. Boy, that's quick. Got good power. I'm impressed with how it handles the grass. Oh, that was cool. Just gotta flip it back here on its wheels and we're ready to go. Again, those little things are not causing any problem, which it shouldn't. If it's a well-built vehicle, you don't, you know, stuff like that. If it breaks stuff, then it means it's not good, and it's having no problems. But anyway, what it's saying is it's really handling this tall, thick grass. Grass is awfully thick for this time of year because of all the rain, and it's having no problems. So they do make a brushed version of this, as I mentioned in the table review. I would spend a little extra on the brushless. You know, I haven't driven the brushed version. Brushed motors, they're fine. They serve a purpose. That's what we had forever. But they don't have that power, that torque, that acceleration. And brushed motors will eventually, especially these ones that they use now without any replaceable brushes, they're going to wear out and go bad. And then you have to replace the motor. Thankfully, they're cheap. But again, go with the brushless. You know, you may only spend 10, 15. Yeah, I don't think that this brushless version may only be $10 or $15 more. I mean, if you're maxed out at 80 and that's a brushed one, you know, save 10 or 15 extra dollars and get the brushless. It's going to be way, way better. Good power on four-wheel drive. Looks sharp. I'm impressed. I like this truck. Very, very nice. This is perfect. This is a perfect entry-level truck for, let's say, a 12-year-old boy, someone that wants to get into trucks. It's fast, but it's not ridiculously fast. It's well built. It's going to be easy to carry around at this size, and it's not going to break the bank at under 100 bucks for everything you need. Even the included charger is pretty good if you don't want to have to invest in even a cheap hobby grade, which I would recommend doing. I actually charge this lithium ion with my iMax because you'll get get a little better charge and of course a much quicker charge. All right, guys. Well, I think that's enough driving around here in front of the house. You've seen what it can do. I'm impressed. I like this. You got some grass stuck in the Velcro on the bottom, but that's going to happen. That's the battery strap and some dust on the Lexan body. But hey, this is a sharp looking truck. But really the only upgrade that I would recommend, as I mentioned, is oil-filled shocks. And you're good to go. Maybe throw a 2S LiPo in there. I've got a 2S LiPo from the Zenlahong Q903 that I said I'll be using that in the speed test when I come back and see just, is it faster to go with that? And what is the top speed of this truck with the lithium ion? And then of course, what would it be if we went to a 2S LiPo? I don't know what the amps is on the ESC. It should be similar to Zenlahong toys. I'm sure it could handle 3S. And I don't have any 3S's that are small enough to put in there, or I would do a test on that. But I think for this size, 2S is pretty perfect. All right, guys, that wraps up the review of the SMAX truck by Remo Hobby. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and click that bell so you know when I do upload new videos. And as always, guys, have a wonderful day.
The power of the dark side.